Hello everyone, we're Superhero Stuff You Should Know, and if you think you know about superheroes and comic books, think again.
We got romance. We got action.
Romance?
We got comedy. We got everything you need, man. Come on down to Superhero Stuff You Should Know for all your superhero needs.
I don't know about this romance. What part are you talking about?
We've got all kinds of sketches, and then deep dives on top of that. Come on down to Superhero Stuff You Should Know.
Alright, so come on down to... Wait, why did I say come on down? To Superhero Stuff You Should Know.
Hey, welcome to Unstable Topics, a fast-paced, jam-packed, unhinged bestie podcast filled with facts, reacts, and made-up games in between.
We're your hosts, Sarah
And Maggie.
and we're excited for you to join our best friend hangout, where we surprise one another with things we find interesting or hilarious just to see how the other will react.
Our friendship might be totally stable, but you never know what your bestie might throw your way to knock you off your game.
So come shake things up, learn something new, and laugh along with us. This is Unstable Topics.
Good.
Hello everyone, we're Superhero Stuff You Should Know, and if you think you know about superheroes and comic books, think again.
We got romance. We got action.
Romance?
We got comedy. We got everything you need, man. Come on down to Superhero Stuff You Should Know for all your superhero needs.
I don't know about this romance. What part are you talking about?
We've got all kinds of sketches, and then deep dives on top of that. Come on down to Superhero Stuff You Should Know.
Alright, so come on down to... Wait, why did I say come on down? To Superhero Stuff You Should Know.
Hey, everybody. We are doing an emergency recording here of Weird Algorithm because...
An emergency. It feels like an emergency.
It's pretty exciting. It's exciting and it's not at the same time. I'm curious what your perspective is on this. I am very excited that we have a new polka from Weird Al Yankovic. That's big. I really was hopeful that this was going to be leading into a new album, but every single interview I've read, Al is very stern that Mandatory Fun is the final traditional Weird Al album, and it'll basically just be singles from here on out. But like, we'll dive into this shortly. My complaint with that is that he says that he doesn't want to do traditional formats because he wants stuff to sound timely. And I feel like a lot of these songs that he picked for this polka are pretty old songs.
Well, the idea, I read in one interview that the concept really was this is a bunch of songs that are number one, that went to number one since his last polka.
Yes.
So in terms of a concept for a return polka, I am fully on board for that.
Yes.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And honestly, like, I don't know, I like the throwback of this. It is wild. I think I looked in the oldest, it does check out because it's within the 10 years. I think the oldest song in this polka is Shake It Off, which is from 2014.
Okay, because I was going to say Hello feels really old too.
2015, I think.
Yeah.
And then, of course, some of them, Vampire is quite new.
I'd say Vampire, Flowers, and WAP are probably our newest songs.
Yeah, I think Vampire might, it's either Vampire or Flowers, I think has to take the title for the newest of the bunch. But I'm not surprised that he is continuing with his no new albums thing. It does still jive with his, he's saying the same things that he said forever, which is that he wants this stuff to be topical, and it's really hard to keep it topical when you have to put 10 or 12 songs together to pull it off. And if anything, I want to encourage this behavior.
Yeah.
Because honestly, like, if he just put out a polka like every year, I would be so happy. Like, these give me such joy. It was funny. A few friends were talking to me about like, do you think it's going to be a parody? And I kind of didn't think it was going to be a parody. I wasn't sure what it was going to be, but then when I heard it was a polka, I was like, that makes sense.
It does make sense. Also, just got to throw this out there because I think this song has been so consistent for the last 10 years. Actually, Hello is the third oldest song in this polka.
Oh, yeah.
Uptown Funk also came out in 2014 with Shake It Off. It's crazy to me that Uptown Funk is a 10-year-old song at this point in time. But
that is actually more surprising. Interesting.
So real quick, I do want to address a quick elephant in the room, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the polka.
Yeah.
The audio quality of this episode might be a little bit different, and that's because Matt is broadcasting from his phone in LA, and I'm using my Zoom mic because my board is packed up for my trip to LA.
Yes.
Because we can talk about this real quickly. Monday night, we're both going to be at Dave and Ethan's secret screening of Weird the Al Yankovic movie in Los Angeles.
Not so secret anymore, is it?
Not so secret anymore before we travel up to San Diego Comic-Con to do our panel on Thursday. Yes. So Thursday at noon in the San Diego Central Library. In some auditorium, the Neil something auditorium. I don't have it right in front of me, but I think that's enough words that you can find us.
You'll be fine.
Yeah. And you know what? Look, I don't want to promise that Weird Al Yankovic might make a surprise appearance at our panel, but who's to say he's not in? I mean, look, Matt, if you were in San Diego,
new material to promote.
Yeah, I'm just saying, Matt, if you were in San Diego, like you're going to be,
that's true.
And you saw that someone was hosting a Wheatus appreciation panel,
mm-hmm.
I think you'd be like, well, I'm going to go check that out.
I mean, you might at least just like poke your head in the room and say hi.
Yeah, exactly.
You might, hypothetically, who knows?
We got no promises, but theoretically, if Al Yankovic is
no promises,
no promises. But ever. If Al Yankovic is in San Diego Comic-Con and he happens to see that we're doing a panel, who's to say he doesn't pop in?
We absolutely have a spare guest pass.
Always
waiting. It's waiting at the desk. just come right in.
So yeah, I mean, so this is the first song that he's released in 2 years, because he had the song at the end of Weird the Al Yankovic Story. His first polka since the Hamilton polka 6 years ago.
But his first polka medley in 10 years.
Technically the Hamilton polka is very much a medley.
We compared it when we talked about Bohemian. We said that was a closer comparison, or Hot Rocks. I mean,
it's closer to Hot Rocks.
It's closer to Hot Rocks. This feels really different than Hamilton, right? Like this is
for sure.
Yeah, this does feel like something he has not done in 10 years, as evidenced by the old songs featured.
Yes. But like, all in all, it's still the Al Yankovic that we love. I had a big smile on my face for all 4 minutes of watching it.
Yeah.
And we're not going to do like a full breakdown right now. We'll get to this in a full breakdown when it comes into the chronological order.
Yes.
But first impressions, I think it's really good. Do you have, I guess the big questions are, how did you like the song?
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite song that was done in a polka style out of the I think it's 14 songs included? And what are your thoughts on the music video? So we'll start there.
Yeah. No, I thought this was really great. I agree. I had a big smile on my face the whole time. It's just such a, you can only hear these for the first time once, right? So like the surprise of what's going to come around the corner next is so delightful. And I loved starting with Bad Guy. That felt right. That made me laugh.
Is so good.
Because I have to say, and again, I don't want to break down too much of the details because we're going to do this later, but like this polka is really, really good with the fun sound effects.
Boy, is it. Yeah.
He nailed, like, from the overemphasized duh down to the, like, it actually took me a couple listens before I caught the he does the old school like Dracula sound in the middle of Vampire.
Blah, yeah, blah.
Like that made me laugh. Really, I like that a lot.
Well, and I mean, we're just about to get to the alternative polka.
Yeah,
which I mentioned in the episode. Spoiler alert for the episode. That like that is the first, and as far as I know, at the time, the only time that Al censors out curse words with sound effects. But he uses it to a great effect in WAP. I laughed every single time that it was like water drop, donkey, and a cat meow.
And a cat, yeah.
Like home run for me. That might be my favorite. That or Uptown Funk might be my favorite, like polka-ized version of a song in this whole thing. But
the WAP thing was really, really great. I loved the way he did that. I also, of course, I've seen people talking about it, like the transition into that is, I think, an Al all-timer.
Oh,
I
it's
want you to
great.
Park that Big Mac truck right in this little garage. Like that is
Hey,
like
yeah,
perfect.
it's
Like
and
honestly, like I saw an interview with him where he was talking about how it took a little while to get the permission to use that song, and he was like determined to wait it out because he was like, I really, really want to do this.
well, I mean,
And I'm
because
so glad.
that is when we're talking about pop culture moments.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that there's a single song, except for maybe like We Don't Talk About Bruno or Old Town Road, that
Mhm.
is like as pop culturally significant as what WAP was at the time that it came out.
It's true. It's
Like
absolutely
that
true.
song, if that song would feel, that's the only song that I think if it wasn't in this polka would feel like it was a missed opportunity.
I think, yeah, no, I agree about a cultural moment. I mean, there's a good few in here. I think it's really,
Oh, there's no duds. I would say honestly, the song that has held the least amount of significance since it was popular was maybe "Thank You Next." Like I think
perhaps
that
so, although,
song slipped out of memory banks a little bit quicker than the
yeah,
rest.
I think it
But
might have. Well, Ariana's also had a lot of big songs, so I feel like that's
yeah,
not necessarily the one people remember the most from her, even already.
yeah,
But that was another one of my favorite laughs in the whole thing was the cashier
yeah,
voice. The thank you next, like
yeah.
that like, grouchy old lady voice. And I love that. That made me laugh every time it happened. And I also, again, the transition out of that, the super duper grateful for like, that was another just great. Like, I don't know, like it always makes me laugh when Al can put such a dorky spin on a song like that. Yeah, no, I don't think there's any that I thought were duds. I did, We Don't Talk About Bruno was a big cultural moment, but I still I was actually glad he did such a small amount of that.
Yeah.
Because when it started, I had a moment of like, oh man, that's like, I don't know, something about it is already like, it's a song from an animated film. I don't know. I didn't feel like that was something I wanted to hear in a Al like pop radio polka,
But it was like an undeniable, like sat at number one for, I think that that's the other thing.
totally
And
undeniable.
I was texting past guest AJ Santini about
Mhm.
this because he felt that the song selection was like a bit underwhelming in his opinion.
Mhm.
And I said, knowing that he only picked number one songs over the last 10 years,
Yeah.
I think it shows a lot of the difference of when Al was at his peak in the 90s, because now very regularly, a number one song will be number one for weeks and weeks and weeks and
Mhm.
weeks.
Yeah.
And two, frequently it's the same artist getting a number one song over and over and over again.
True.
So I feel like his scope of what he could pick from probably was quite small over 10 years. Like you have to think that if he was going to do a Taylor Swift song, there was probably just in that 10-year span a good 20 number one Taylor Swift songs.
Yeah,
that
he
had
had
to
a
like,
lot of options.
you know what I mean? And like, We Don't Talk About Bruno sat at number one for a long ass time. Despacito sat at number one for a long ass time. Old Town Road sat at number one for a long ass time. Like,
absolutely,
these are all songs that had these mammoth runs. So I'm almost curious. I'm not going to do this right now, but I am curious to like look back and go through that Billboard Hot 100 and actually count how many songs
options
even qualified as options.
Yeah.
Because I'm willing to bet that there was over 10 years. I bet that it was about 100 songs tops.
And I'll bet that a lot of them we have now completely forgotten.
Yes.
Because that's the nature of music now. And I mean, also let's be honest with ourselves too, because I saw this written a few places online and it made me really laugh. There's something to be said for like, as people get older, you get less connected to pop radio. The number of, I saw comments on YouTube or like maybe on the articles. There's so many articles about Al out right now, which is also wonderful to see.
It's great.
But
none of them mentioning our podcast, which I
no, but that's okay. They'll get there. Yeah, people just being like complaining about the polka and being like, I didn't know any of these songs, or like I don't know these, like I don't like these aren't, I don't like these tracks. And I was like, well, we're all getting older, guys.
Yeah.
Al is I would make the argument that I don't think that's Al's fault. I think that's our fault for getting old and having taste change. This is like, to me, this is a pop culture time capsule in the same way that every polka he has done, generally speaking, has been. I feel like it hits the mark. It's a larger window than he's used in the past, but I do think it's still the same conceit, and taste is taste in terms of what songs he picks.
I just want to call this out because I'm looking at it right now.
Mm-hmm.
2014 and 2015, both of those years
Yeah.
had a total of 8 number one hits for the entire year.
Wow.
So
That's
like
crazy.
that's what I'm saying. So if that trend continued for 10 years, he had 80 songs
Mm-hmm.
to choose from to pick the like 12 that he felt represented 10 years. And again, I'm scrolling through and I'm seeing Taylor Swift's name a lot. I'm seeing
Sure.
Ariana Grande's name a lot. Like I'm seeing a ton of Drake, which I'm sure he was probably avoiding Drake like the plague at this point.
Now's
But
not the time.
but like yeah, it's a lot of repetitive artists and not
Yeah.
a lot of songs to choose from. So like for the people who are complaining, you have to look at it through that lens as well, as these are the 12 best songs to represent 10 years if you're
Yeah.
only looking at the lens of number one hits.
Absolutely. And I would also just think of it through the lens of like we're like Al is, as always, like he is, he's reaching out to his old fans, but this is definitely an attempt to reach out to some new ones at the same time and blow some kids' minds. And I hope that he does with this, because I think people like right now, people who are in their teens who are going to know and remember all of these songs from the last 10 years, I hope that they listen to this and have an experience like I did, actually less with the alternative polka and more with like
Polka
Angry
Power and
White
stuff.
Boy.
Yeah.
That was like a moment for me where I was like, wow, this is like my entire childhood encapsulated in a polka. Like, those moments really like are special when that happens. And if the Geese kids haven't had that before, I think that I think that some kids right now are like, what is this?
Well, and here's the biggest bummer. There's 2 songs on record that he tried to get for the polka and didn't make it.
Really? I heard about the SZA track.
So SZA, and apparently also it said the other song that was considered but inevitably left off was Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter.
Oh.
And I think if he had gotten those as well, like if he had gotten Espresso and Kill Bill, which are still so like public mind, I think that a lot of people that were like, these songs are too old, would have faded a little bit more, and it would be hitting even more with the high schoolers, especially if he got Espresso in there, because that's like still of the moment.
Yeah,
it would have been like this blown away moment.
It's funny actually. Someone again talking about like the idea of like when this was just announced as we don't know what this is going to be. It's just a new Al song. Someone said to me that they thought it might be a parody of Espresso, and I was like, that actually would make sense. Like it's super popular, but it's also been out long enough that I was like, maybe he could have put something together really quickly.
Yeah.
And that would have made some sense. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we said at the beginning, like he's trying to rush. He's trying to make this, you get these things out, you're up against a deadline. He wanted it to coincide with the anniversary of Mandatory Fun, which I love as a concept. I think that's a great idea. Yeah. And yeah, no, I agree. It would have been fun if they were in there, but I don't know. You can put me in the camp of people. I have no objection with the song choices on this. I think that I knew every song referenced.
Yep.
And I think that, even the ones that have faded a little bit are still, it was fun to hear. Like, I feel like I haven't heard Hello in a while.
Yeah.
And I actually really liked the polka arrangement of Hello. I thought that was really nice. Not funny, but just really good. Yeah, I don't know. I was on board, and
man,
we didn't talk about it that much. Just a quick note about how great, like, I'm often not, the animated videos are not always my favorite because it just feels a little too detached from the artists. I feel like for me, but I loved that this was also like a video medley of all these different animators, most of which he's worked with in the past.
Yep.
Al does get a nice little appearance in the Old Town Road video segment.
Yeah. I like the puppet Al, obviously.
I like the puppet Al. I thought that the video was very effective in also being like a throwback, pulling all these different animation styles, and immediately pointed out that was it Uptown Funk was animated by the guy who did Albuquerque.
Yep.
And it's just the same style very obviously right away. It's like, it's a great, like, it's just like a visit. Even the Flowers video segment has no lyrical references to Flowers. It's just like a visit back through Al's old music videos.
But I also feel like it's giving Al his flowers in a way. Like,
oh, I like that. Good.
I
call,
like.
Matt.
I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah.
No, I mean, there's some really great. Absolutely, watch the video. I think that the video adds a lot of fun.
I listened to the song a few times before I watched the video, and then when I saw the video, I then had to listen a few more times with the video to get through everything there. That it's great. Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm thrilled to have another polka.
I'm scrolling through all of the songs that could have qualified,
Mhm.
and in all honesty, like obviously, like we said, now's not the time for a Drake song, which I'm sure is why we didn't get any Drake songs. The only other.
Imagine if the polka was a polka of like Drake and
hits.
Kendrick Lamar tracks.
Oh my god, it'd be great. But so the only
with no other commentary, just like alternating between those, like he would. I don't know what.
Well, but in all honesty, as I'm looking at all these tracks, the only 2 songs that I thought, okay, maybe he should have included them. But again, one of them I think falls into the same like Drake situation of like they're kind of not in a great place to do them, was like Truth Hurts by Lizzo probably should have been represented in some way, because that song was massive over the last 10
Truth
years.
Hurts or Juice, actually, both
or
of those
Juice
would have you're right.
Or About Damn Time. Really, any Lizzo song probably should have been there.
And then he thought that was a risky
rough,
in some way. I don't know.
Yeah, rough time right now. And then the other one was Blinding Lights by Weekend. Would have been the only other number one that I thought, okay, that. But yeah, when you actually sit down and look at what the number one hits were from 2014 to 2024, he got all the right ones. Like,
yeah.
So
I don't like Lizzo, The Weeknd's like 2 artists I like, but I don't miss.
No, they're not missing. They're just the only 2. I would say that Thank You Next, if it wasn't for obviously the chorus being so obvious, would have been the only one that I may have been like, what's the song? Like when the verses came in, like I was like,
if there was any, I mean, if there was any song that he put in the medley, I mean, it fit the criteria, but also there was just immediately that comedic concept behind it that we hear in the song of the register, the person, the revolving door.
Yeah,
I think that was the appeal. It would be my guess is that he heard that and he was like, oh, I know how to make this a funny part of a polka. Like it worked really, really well.
Yeah, it's actually, even though it's the song that I think of the least, it might be one of the funniest bits in the song. So I totally support it.
For me, WAP and Thank You Next are the highlight of the whole thing. Those 2 back to back, I think, is a great. I think that's both super clever, really funny, and just musically very satisfying. I like those both a lot.
Yep. All right. Well, I think we gave him 20 minutes of our thoughts. We'll dive even deeper in like a year or 2 when we get to this point, because crazy. It's crazy to think about this, Matt, in the realm of polkas.
Yes.
Looking at it through that lens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 7 or 8 polkas left to do.
Yeah.
Depending on if you include Polkamania.
Of course, we include Polkamania.
Yeah, but like that's not a lot. We're in the middle of Bad Hair Day right now. We have 5 more albums, and then we're just in the singles era. So
yeah, it's true.
We're gonna get there sooner rather than later now, which is crazy to think about.
And really quick, unless you have another ending planned, I want to just say this. Let's do a guess right now. So we said it's going to be like between 1 and 2 years before we get to this song chronologically to rank. In 1 or 2 years, will this still be the most recent Weird Al song, or will he have put something else out?
I'm hoping that this is like I said, I was hopeful that there was going to be another album announcement, that he changed his mind. But I am hopeful that we get more in the next 2 years. Even if it's like every 6 months, there's like a polka that he jumps on, or maybe not a polka, but like a parody that he throws out. I think that the days of the parodies might be done.
I kind of think that might be true as well. Yeah.
I think that his biggest fight against putting out a traditional album is that there's just too many people on the internet doing parodies the same day as the songs come out.
Yeah.
And it's like, he just can't get to the ideas quickly enough anymore. And like short of an artist sending him a track months in advance and saying, hey, this is going to be my next single, but then you risk a Toothless People situation. Like, I think that it's either going to be a polka every couple years. I would love, so you know how like there are those people on YouTube that'll do like the biggest songs of the year mashups. If we just got a year summary in polka form from Al every year, I would be like more than satisfied.
That's what I was saying. Like if this was a thing, like a regular event, that would be great. I know he also teased that, you know, he's planning to tour again next year. And I saw in one interview, he specifically said like he did this because he wanted to have a new polka for the road, which I also think is great. I would bet anything that if he brings this polka out on the road, it will get expanded and he'll add some things.
Do you think that him wanting a new polka for the road means that it's definitely not going to be another self-indulgent tour and a little bit more of a traditional hits combo?
It seems that way. It seems like it might be a more old school Al tour. I mean, I don't know exactly what that entails, but the fact that that was said definitely does not point to a vanity tour. It points to
we got to go to the next one, whether it's me coming up your way or you coming down this way, but we're going to go figure it out.
We're going.
All right. But you know where else we're going? San Diego Comic-Con. So come see us
basically here
next week. Yeah. Look,
here. You got to go. You got to go.
I'm boarding the plane tomorrow.
When this song came out yesterday, I was one of those people who was stuck in an airport where all the computers went down. So we were going to try to record this yesterday, and my flight I actually got really lucky compared. Some of my bandmates were in Dallas for like 12 hours at the airport, and I didn't have to wait that long. But by the time I got here, it was too late to do it. But yeah, you've done well avoiding that travel day. Good job, Matt Kelly. So now, you know, come over anytime.
Yep. I'll be there soon. See you.
All right.
Hey, welcome to Unstable Topics, a fast-paced, jam-packed, unhinged bestie podcast filled with facts, reacts, and made-up games in between.
We're your hosts, Sarah
and Maggie.
And we're excited for you to join our best friend hangout, where we surprise one another with things we find interesting or hilarious just to see how the other will react.
Our friendship might be totally stable, but you never know what your bestie might throw your way to knock you off your game.
So come shake things up, learn something new, and laugh along with us. This is Unstable Topics.
Hello everyone, we're Superhero Stuff You Should Know, and if you think you know about superheroes and comic books, think again.
We got romance. We got action.
Romance?
We got comedy. We got everything you need, man. Come on down to Superhero Stuff You Should Know for all your superhero needs.
I don't know about this romance. What part are you talking about?
We've got all kinds of sketches, and then deep dives on top of that. Come on down to Superhero Stuff You Should Know.
All right, so come on down to... Wait, why did I say come on down? To Superhero Stuff You Should Know.
Hey, welcome to Unstable Topics, a fast-paced, jam-packed, unhinged bestie podcast filled with facts, reacts, and made-up games in between.
We're your hosts, Sarah
and Maggie.
And we're excited for you to join our best friend hangout, where we surprise one another with things we find interesting or hilarious just to see how the other will react.
Our friendship might be totally stable, but you never know what your bestie might throw your way to knock you off your game.
So come shake things up, learn something new, and laugh along with us. This is Unstable Topics.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.